Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. Don't forget to make yourself a cup of tea or coffee with snacks if you want, because today we have very interesting stories, and one of them is a story about a woman who left her children in a hot car and then made a scene. Please subscribe if you haven't and I hope you'll enjoy it. My daughter was turning 7 and we were having a birthday party where we invited the entire class. We were hoping not everyone would come, but we also didn't want to exclude anyone. We had the party at our house and no, we did not have a HUGE house, it was just a normal home with a normal city yard, but we did have a fenced lot so that helped. We got a really big bounce house thing, it had a slide and the castle part. We ordered lots of pizzas and had cake and cookies. I made really cool goodie bags too. We sent out invitations with clearly marked directions that RSVP is required and the due date for all RSVPs. Again, we were inviting 20 plus kids and needed a proper head count. This all is important information for the story. 13 kids RSVP'd and we were thrilled. It was of course all of our daughter's good friends, some people that she played with sometime, and then a couple that were just in her class. But this information I got to go into full planning mode. I know I was going over the top, but we wanted it to be really cool. We had a costume party because her birthday is the week of Halloween. We had the house decorated with a haunted maze with animatronics and everything, the previously mentioned bounce house, and each kid was given a gift and goodie bag with a cool toy and candy. It wasn't cheap dollar store stuff either, not that there is anything wrong with a dollar store. An additional note that was on the invite. The party is from 12 till 2. Parents are encouraged to stay and enjoy the party with us. If you choose to drop off your child, please note we will need a contact number where someone can be reached during the party, and all parents must be back NLT 2 p.m. to pick up your child. Day of the party it is 11:30 and kids start showing up. The early kiddos were some of our daughter's best friends. All the guests trickle in between 11:30 to 12:10. Here is why I am telling the story. We had 13 RSVPs and we had 19 kids show up. I only had 14 bags made, 13 for guests, 1 for the birthday girl. So, you would think the math was easy, but it still wasn't adding up. 13 respect and showed up, 5 more classmates who didn't RSVP show up, but that left one. Some entitled mother, EM, snuck a younger sibling in the house as she was leaving, after giving me her phone number and left. We will refer to the sibling as YS. I now have a roster. The kids are playing and having fun, but I am a stress monster trying to figure this out. I cross-referenced the kids with the parents who stayed and the ones who left and made sure we did have numbers for all parents who left. Thank God we did. I then talked to my husband and mom who were there helping to get ideas. We order more pizzas to feed the additional kids. No additional parents stayed, go figure. They didn't RSVP and now they were basically using us for free daycare. We did have enough cake and goodies because I overdo most things. The only thing we didn't have was the gift bags and I actually felt bad. I worried about how the other kids would feel, but we came up with a good fix. All the kids who RSVP'd would get their bag quietly on their way home. It's screwed because the toys would have been fun for them to play together at the party, but oh well. It was only about 15 minutes into the party and we thought we had it figured out until Is peed all over her costume. Yes, she had an accident. No, she was not in a diaper, and no, when her EM snuck her into my house, she did not leave a bag of extra clothes. We looked. I was already running around like a chicken with my head cut off. My mom stepped up and said she would help get her changed, but I had to find her something to wear. I ran to our daughter's room and grabbed stretchy pants, since I was hoping those would fit since she was smaller. My mom gets YS cleaned up. I try calling EM to tell her she has to come get us now, but take a while. Guess EM doesn't answer, but I left her a message. YS went back to playing, and I couldn't make this up if I wanted to, but YS peed herself again within 30 minutes. This time my mom said no, she was not cleaning her up, so it was left to me. Again, I run and get a pair and the last pair of stretchy pants, get her cleaned up, and now I am mad as hell. I tried calling EM again. Still no answer. I continue to call every 5 minutes. At this point I have to watch where YS sits and everything because she could pee on anything. Thankfully, all the other moms were helping ask if YS needed to go potty and kept taking her, but we were limiting the amount Is drank. Finally, it was time for the party to be over, and I was so thankful. I was so stressed. I would never invite that many people again. When each of the entitled parents that didn't RSVP showed up to collect their kids, they asked if they had fun, some asked if they got goodie bags. For those I said, if you would have RSVP'd, they would get one. I was glad to have them gone. Now, when EM finally showed up 2.10, I was not friendly. I informed her that her actions are unacceptable. Not only did she not RSVP, she snuck YS in, she did not answer her phone, and now she was late. She is lucky I didn't call the police about an abandoned kid. I told her she would never be invited back, and I let the other parents know what she pulled. We invited our daughter's good friends to stay and play and watch movies when everyone else left, they did, and everyone relaxed and had fun. Absolutely delighted you called the parent out for their behavior. And yes, you would have been entirely correct to have the police contact child services when you could not reach the parent of the child you did not agree to host. I was walking out to a food store just across my high school to get some Gatorade with my football teammates after morning practice, which ended at 12:00, the heat already 100 degrees. We go out of the store, Gatorades in hand, and about to hit a hot dog joint when we hear a baby crying. No big deal, we thought, until it hit one of my buddies, let's call him Ethan, that it sounded a bit muffled. So we move our eyes around the area until one of my other buddies, let's say Marcus, spotted two babies in a car in obvious distress. In 100 freaking degree weather. With no parent. Of course, the car is hot and locked. Ethan, without even thinking, decides to draw attention, while Marcus begins to call the police. I have a brother who works in the military, and he taught me that when in a similar situation to hit on the outer parts of the car windows, which are weaker than the inner parts of the windows, spark plugs are a bonus, so I ask someone to grab something blunt, but that can also fit into the palm of my hand. When given to me, I did what I was taught, and the car window with said blunt object, and shattered the window in 2 hits, had to hit the driver window, as to not have glass spray in the face of the toddlers. Coincidentally, EM is walking out, and she drops her things and shoves me down to the ground, attempting to mount me to assault me, in the middle of a freaking crowd. Ethan and a few other bystanders already break it up. Dialogue is a bit shaky considering all of this happened so fast, but it goes something like this. No. Don't let him steal my stuff. What? You left your kids to die in a hot car at 100 freaking degrees. Attempts to slap me, do not cuss at me. I am your superior. I went in to grab what I needed, which wasn't even 5 minutes. Yet you attempted to rob my belongings and kidnap my children. A lot of crap happens in 5 minutes, you witch. Ma'am, you can't be serious, you're worried about being robbed when your children. They were fine where they were. Yet your accomplice disturbed them from their nap. Now I have to deal with their crappy mood when we get home. By this point a couple of bystanders have the children out of the car. Another bystander steps in. You're damn well lucky they didn't go into eternal napping. Like you give a crap about my children, this child harasser, pointing to me, could have possibly taken my children. And you didn't do crap. Call the police, someone. Marcus. No need, Satan, I already did so. EM is visibly pissed at what Marcus had called her, but calms down when she is told the police are coming to our location. EM is arguing with a couple of other bystanders as Ethan tries to help me cope with my anxiety, and Marcus still on the phone with the operator. Once police arrive, EM is already on the case. What's the problem, ma'am? Approaching EM. This child harasser, pointing at me again, tried to kidnap my children. I want to press charges. What the hell, I did not try to take your children, you dumb left them in the car in this type of heat. Luckily Marcus and Ethan were there to back me up. But apparently it did not satisfy this witch of a mother. So cops went to all stores possible that had a camera. One camera showed clear as day that my buddies and I saw the children in distress, a crowd being drawn, and me breaking into the car. The final nail in the coffin was when the children were escorted out of the car. And once it was proven that the car belonged to the mother and my squad was acting on valid and reasonable intent, she was arrested, but not before having a fit and trying to assault me and cuss at me, and watching herself being dragged away from her children. I was also asked if I personally wanted to press charges on the woman for attempted assault, but I didn't press, because in the end it was about the children rather than me. However, the city is still pressing charges, and maybe even the state. Still awaiting court, but with the amount of evidence gathered, shouldn't take long. Update. Talking to DA about pressing attempted assault charges. Update 2. EM is pleading guilty to 2 counts of child endangerment. CPS is going to present a case to argue the mother should have her children taken away. Update 3. Entitled Mother has been sentenced to 4 years for child endangerment and attempted assault brought on by the state, and the children are staying with the father. I truly hope your local CPS removes those kids permanently. This woman has as much right to be a mother as I have to be an astronaut. Even after she was told how much danger her kids were and all she cared about was her car, being the boss of everybody, and that the kids were quiet. This was 4 years ago, but it still comes up in conversations. When I was 12 we lived in a nice little neighborhood which was filled with some not the house that was next to ours had people in and out, don't know why they never stayed. About the fourth family that moved in seemed pretty nice the first day they came over and greeted themselves sounding nice, but we found out how wrong we were 6 months in with the living there. It was a hot summer's evening. My dad just finished getting steak ready to cook out on the grill. He puts in a lot of work when grilling food. We all went out to our porch where the grill was mainly put at the time. We all sat down to relax and wait for the food to cook. That's when EM comes out. EM, entitled Mom, me, Grand Warlock, D, Father, M, Sweet Mother, S, Sister, F1 and F2, Firefighters. Could you put that grill out? My daughter has asthma and can't breathe cause of it. Alright, we will in just a second, the food's almost done. I need it out right now, she can't breathe and I'm going to need to take her to the hospital. I said okay in a minute, and if she can't breathe, then take her to the hospital. EM scoffs inside, angry, muttering under her breath. A few minutes later we hear the blaring of sirens coming down the road. We shrug it off because we hear it a lot, so we took it as no big deal till it turned our corner and stopped in front of our house. 2 firemen come rushing over to us saying they got a call about smoke coming from a house. That's when M comes running out of her house like she just escaped a killer. She comes into our yard towards the firemen. Yes, that's them causing all the smoke and my daughter can't breathe. The fireman run over to the girl who is sitting on the steps of their porch. After a few minutes of checking her, they tell the EM she's fine and we need to put the grill out, which we agreed since the food was done. The firemen leave looking annoyed that she wasted their time. After that we moved our grill to the side of the house, which was more easy for us, but she called the fire department again saying the same thing as last time and then getting yelled at by the firefighters for calling about something that was no big deal, and if they didn't like it, they could bring it up with us, which they never did. A year after all that was when the real problem started. When I was outside alone, I was 13 and could take care of myself. The neighbor would come over to me and say this: "Where are your parents?" "They're inside or asleep. They both work most nights." "So you're alone?" "No, they're asleep and I'm old enough to take care of myself." "No, you're not, you need to come with me till the cops come." "First of all, no, I'm fine, and second, why the need to call the cops?" "'Cause you're alone and your parents need to go to jail for child abandonment." She tried to grab my arm but missed and I ran back inside my house. The cops came to our house about 10 minutes later. My dad was in his chair most days, so he got up and answered the door, and the conversation went like this: "Hi, what seems to be the problem?" "Police, we got a call saying a child was abandoned." Points to me. "No, we never abandoned him, he was playing outside." That's when EM stepped in. "Yes, he was all alone." "No, he wasn't, he is allowed to go outside, he's old enough to be outside alone, and he's smart enough not to get in trouble." EM looks like she is going to burst with anger. "Well, I think you should be smart enough to not leave your freaking kid alone." The officer tells her to go back to her house and leave us alone, and my dad apologizes for the mishap. For the next 2 years we have the cops on us for false things, and we had new neighbors move in across the street. They're great and we warn them about the crazy neighbors next to use, which they actually had, which was a smart choice cause that night we have the cops called on us again for disturbing the peace. We weren't even home. We had a note on the door from the police saying that they stopped by and said we were still fine. The cops knew us, and the neighbor cause for the 2 years he was the one that was called for almost all of this. For the last year before they moved, it was a summer day, me and my dad and mom were across the hanging with the cool neighbors, while my sister was across the on our side of the street riding her bike. EM was sitting on her porch whispering to her daughter with a grin on her face. The daughter went over and put 2 big wheels in front of the sidewalk. Once my sister rounded back around the corner, she stops in front of the 2 big wheels. "Would you please move these, I'm trying to bike around." "No, I won't, this is my sidewalk and I can put whatever I want on it, and if you dare move it I will hurt or make you cry back home to dad." My dad hears all of this and comes running over like he's about to kill someone. You dare put a finger on my daughter and it will be you who will get hurt. They both argue, but I can't hear all of it since I was told to just go back into the house. 20 minutes pass by and 2 cop cars come rolling to my house, sirens blaring. I didn't know much, but what I was told, the neighbor called the cops and said my father beat her and threatened their family. Nothing happened, but she decided to take us to court due to harassment. When the day came that we needed to go in, I thought it was gonna be fun to hear all the crap she was telling the court. We go in and sit down for only 10 minutes when the court asked where kids were. Oh, they're at home waiting for us to come back. Who is watching them? My oldest daughter is watching them, she's only 6. Well, they need to be here to give us their side of the story, and they can't be left home alone at that young of age. The judge ended the court and set it for another day, which was stupid, but at the same time she's stupid. When the next court day came, I didn't get to go, which screwed because I really wanted to hear her crap, but no, I was left home, which was fine, and waited for them to come back. When they came home, my dad told me that they were to be left alone and that she had all these other stories about us doing other crap. The first story she had went like this. I was sitting outside when my dad, came out holding and polishing his gun, then pointing it at me saying, "Where's your daddy now?" First problem, my dad doesn't own guns and he never did. The second story was that we poured oil on their dog and threw rocks at him. Problem with it, their dog has a white coat of fur and you'd notice if we even did. And second, when did we even do that? In the end, my dad told me and the rest of the family that we need to leave them alone, and if he bothered them they could press charges. So we left them be and they moved out a few months later, and we haven't heard about them till we found out divorced and sold the house to some collage girl, which she was chill till one of her friends broke into our house drunk, but that is another story for later. We moved out from my dad's a few months after that, then here got arrested for fighter and throwing fist at our other neighbor. She's 87 and sweet as hell, and that's the last we ever heard from her. Good thing too. This lady would have an IQ test come back negative. She calls the cops cause a 13-year-old was playing out back, but leaves her kids no older than 6 years old. Well guys, that's it for today. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing, and if you missed the last episode on the channel, I'm gonna link it right here. The story is about a woman who crashed into Op's car with children inside, nearly kills them and blame everything on Op's family. Check this out if you haven't, and I'll see you in my next video.